What is going on, everyone? It's Rob and Jonny. Welcome to episode 40 of the MMArcade Podcast. Both Rob and I have had a very exhausting weekend. We're very tired.
Leading with this.
It's good to get it out there.
We've had to move the recording days back and back. It was supposed to be the beginning of last week, but I just had to keep pushing it back because trying to, I don't know, have some energy, some form of energy and conversation after a wrestling session is just,
for sure,
it's just not on. It just can't be done. So we pushed it back to a Sunday. Hopefully this works out in our favor. And let us know what you guys think. Not that we're going to change it in the immediate future, just because I think, like, if moving forward, instead of me trying leaving like I have previous fight camps, maybe because Sunday's a day off generally, I might be able to slide it in and get around with it. So bear with us, please, guys.
Yeah, and when I posted about it on our community tab, a lot of people were saying, you know what, that's actually not a bad time because not many recaps are done that early after fights have just taken place. So obviously we just had UFC Fight Night, saw a couple of knockouts. So we'll talk about those in today's video. If you are new, please like, subscribe, and let's get right into it, Rob. So again, we just had a UFC Fight Night.
Yep.
Two pretty crazy knockouts to talk about. First, I want to talk about Ryan Spann getting brutally knocked out by Guskov. Dude, Herb Dean, I love you, man. I love you so much. But good Lord, why did you want that man to die?
It wasn't that bad.
It was. Go on, Rob.
Okay. No, it wasn't, because, like, I can see, I was looking at it because you brought it to my attention. Let me preface.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a UFC card this weekend. For whatever reason, I just had it in my head that this was like a bare week. And yeah, you know what I mean? But anyway, you brought it to my attention. I went and had a look at it. I don't think it was that bad. I can see how Herb Dean could have seen it, Spann still there, cognizant, you know, like his hands were kind of up. I think he was out much sooner. His hands were just kind of in the way. But that's from the angle that we had with the cameras, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but so I can see where Herb Dean, I don't think that's the one to crucify him on.
I agree that I've seen worse ones. But I think the commentators were counting how many punches that he got in. It was like 12 or something ridiculous. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Yeah. I thought for a little bit there.
It was a fair whack.
Yeah, it was. But that was definitely the biggest talking point after that.
Oh, Guskov's chin, though. Like, he was taking big shots from Spann. Spann is a monster of a human being.
Yeah.
But not only that, he was playing so close to the fire. He was sliding back from those hooks.
Yeah.
Millimeters in play. Millimeters. And then some of those, like, 1-2s, like, straight down the pipe, landing flush. But the guy had absolute disregard for him and just pushed in. I loved it.
It was a really solid fight, honestly. And then talking about the main event, so Matheus Nicolau getting knocked out by Alex Perez. Perez, you know, he showed up on short notice, you know, because Manel Cap couldn't make the fight. Not the first time that we've seen that. And he looked slick, bro. He looked so freaking good. I was really impressed by Perez.
Dude, his hands were like, they were on. He was in play. He was, I think he was doing a lot of the right things. He was stalking and cutting off the cage really well. He was mixing up his angles. He was opening up the headshots by working towards the body.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like the entire, 2 rounds that the fight went for was just him setting up a knockout. It felt like he was just laying the foundation. And, you know, that's what they say, body shots win titles, right? He was just laying the foundations for getting him into a position where he could land that hook and knock out Matheus. But also, I will say, Perez did amazing work of controlling that center cage as well as pushing Nicolau up against the fence.
Yeah.
He was doing such a good job of cutting him off and then pushing him into him when Nicolau was obviously the entire fight up until that point was using the rollout, the fadeaway to try and avoid those dangerous strikes.
Yeah.
So to see him get the finish like that, like I said, he was kind of just building up, laying the foundation for that sequence at the end that landed him that finishing and honestly fast-tracked him to contention.
100%. And you know what this emphasizes for me? I know a lot of the talk is when someone steps up in short notice, and I don't know what the actual results are, but oftentimes you might see a short notice fighter lose. But the other way around is also true. When you've been preparing for a certain type of fighter, watching their fights and training for that, and then have that switched up on you, even though you're the one that's been training it in fight camp, it doesn't necessarily mean it's all in your favor. And we literally just saw that with Nicolau getting knocked out. So I think that does need to be talked about as well. Nicolau still accepted the fight with Perez, even though he was in fight camp, and then went on to lose it.
Yeah, definitely. The idea, like I've had opponents switched out on me before, and your entire camp, so your entire 12, 10, 8 weeks is designed around a particular opponent.
Yeah.
And it can, like, the amount of changes you make, or the way the sessions and the training is formulated and laid out for you is so different fight to fight, because the styles make fights. And obviously I'm not training the same way I was for Chimaev as I was for Costa. They're two very, very different fighters.
Well, let's see what happens with Nicolau. But as you said, with Perez, I think if he gets another couple of good wins in there, who knows what's going to be happening with him. But it was a pretty fun fight night, all things considered. I don't know if you watched any of the other fights, but those two, the co-main and the main, were pretty fun.
Mate, I told you, I didn't even know there was a fight card. I don't know how it slipped my radar as hard as it did. Like, I think the week's been very busy.
Fair.
And then I had some things on in the weekend, and I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I was a little cluttered. I've been backlogged with things to do. I found out my rego's due yesterday. So I'm a little backlogged. So I'm gonna work through some stuff.
I mean, well, look, it is UFC 301 next weekend, right? We've got Pantoja against Erceg.
Yes, it is. Because I'm my manager, obviously his manager as well, has flown over.
Yeah.
And I know Erceg's laying down the home base, the invasion camp. So I'm looking forward to see him get it done.
Well, I'm so used to, like, when we usually record the podcast, like, I'll know that we have a week out and then we can do the predictions and then do the recap. But by the time, if we do this on the Sunday, the fight will have already taken place. So I know I'm going to throw this, in on you right now, but do you want to give a bit of a prediction or a rundown of Pantoja and Erceg?
I guess moving forward, we're going to have to move.
We are.
Recaps and predictions to the same day.
Pretty much the same day.
Which we always did anyway. But it'll be the same day as the fights, I guess. Didn't think about it really. I haven't given it a lot of thought. I haven't even seen a lot of the main card. But in terms of just that main event, Erceg going over to enemy territory to take on Pantoja, mate, Erceg has speed run his way to a title shot in the UFC, and it is unbelievable to see because he's one of those guys. And I've always said this: the UFC and MMA in general is just rife with opportunity. It is just if you are ready at the right time in the right place, honestly, doors open. And he has been that. He is the embodiment of that concept, because his debut into the UFC, late notice, last minute, I'll take it. Amazing fight, amazing win. And then on the back of that, he's just stepped up time and time again. And honestly, he's looked better and better. So for him to go up against Pantoja, and this is going off Pantoja's last fight, mate, Steve has all the skills necessary to leave Rio as champion.
I agree.
And I don't think it's getting enough noise and hype and attention it deserves, because, mate, Steve's boxing composure, I think, is levels ahead of his age and tenure in the UFC and in mixed martial arts at the moment. I just think he has the skill sets to take that title and to return home and bring another belt back to, home Australian soil.
Dude, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. If we can get another Aussie champ, that'll be sick. But I think, like you mentioned, this maybe not getting as much hype. Do you think it has to do with the fact that, UFC 300 was so stacked? And it's inevitable. You stack a card like the way they did from the early prelims all the way to the main. what else? What other fights are you going to include for upcoming cards, at least in the next few weeks? It was always going to suffer. UFC 301 was always going to suffer, even if they saved a fight or two, but they didn't even do that. So that's probably why maybe people a little bit, I don't know, in comparison to the card that we just had, which is going to be the same price, mind you. Maybe that's why people aren't as excited. I don't know.
Maybe, you might be onto something because 300 was such a dopamine hit and because it was such a built up event that there is like a exhaustion period post the event. Yeah. Because like we're still like that Holloway fight is still top of my feed for a lot of different things. And
so good.
It is just, it had such a reverberating effect on the weeks after it. So I maybe we see something different now that we're moving into fight week. Yeah. For 301, I can see them starting to turn the dials up again because it was a fight night. Obviously, the difference between a fight night and a pay-per-view event is, it's noticeable. UFC put their money behind the pay-per-view events for good reason because, that's the one people have to buy. But, I'm interested to see. We may very well see them start to build this up now. I know they will build it up now because it's a title fight and now we're moving into fight week for 301.
And also Jose Aldo is returning. Like, is that not being talked about enough? It's coming back.
It's not. It is not. Dude, the whole card. I think you're on the money with the 300 card details, but it's not. This card has kind of flown under the radar for a while, up until this week.
And how often do we see that a card that doesn't get as much hype, when you actually watch it, turns out to be bangers across the board? Like knockouts and everything. Yep. So I suspect this card could be very similar. And if it ends with Erceg winning and we have another Aussie champ, I think both you and I are going to be very happy about that.
Oh, very, very happy, mate. Like, if we can get another belt into the country, it's just
it'd be sick, dude.
For Australia, for how relatively new MMA is and how like the growth of MMA in the last 10 years alone, it's just mate, it's got to be a speed record.
Dude, 3 fights and then a title opportunity. Did Pereira have 3 fights or was it 4? I can't remember.
I don't know. Pereira's speed running the entire game, but
he is. But like when Pereira first came into the UFC, right? He had so UFC 268.
I think it was 2.
1, 2, 3. No, he was the same. Exact same. 3 fights like Erceg.
3 fights and fought fought Izzy.
Both of them speed run it, but obviously Pereira won. We don't know what's going to happen with Erceg yet. Let us know what you think, your predictions in the comments below. But that was the UFC Fight Night recap. That was UFC 301 happening next weekend. We got some UFC news to talk about as well. UFC 304 has been announced for Manchester. The timing of it is so weird, and we can talk about that, but it's going to be their 5th trip to Manchester, England, taking place at the Co-op Arena, July 27. It feels like Tom Aspinall is going to be fighting potentially against Curtis Blaydes, but also we're likely going to get the long-awaited fight of Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammed. So, Rob, what do you think of UFC 304, and those potential fights happening?
Has it been confirmed Tom Aspinall's fighting?
Look, no, but I don't think any fights have necessarily been confirmed. I think that's just what people are guessing.
And that's fair enough because, how does that whole dynamic with Aspinall at the moment, what's going on? Weird. Is he going to defend an interim belt?
He absolutely is. Look, Dana said Jones is fighting Stipe. That is happening. And either Tom can sit on the sidelines or he can fight. And if he fights, he's defending an interim belt. It's so weird, but he wants that fight to happen. So what else do you do? Always there's a conversation in the UFC. You got to keep fighting, right? If you stay on the sidelines for too long, things are going to pass you by. Is this not one of those things for Tom Aspinall? It's not ideal, but what else does he do?
And, if UFC are giving him the opportunity to defend the interim belt, understandably, it's not the belt, but he'll still be paid pay-per-view money. He'll still be paid championship money. It's a way to keep him going, for him to further his goals. He gets better with fights. And what do you do against Jones? Jones has done so much for the company, for the sport. It's very hard not to play into his, to respectfully give him what he wants. Fair. He's at a point where he can kind of lean on the company and lean on the things he's achieved in the sport to be able to do that.
Yeah, and for Aspinall's sake, if he fights Blaydes, I think Blaydes also deserves that opportunity as well. I don't think a lot of people want to see Cyril Gane in there. So Blaydes, Aspinall, man, that would be an absolute banger if it's actually announced.
It would.
I don't think people might be as excited as Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammed, but that fight has to happen. It has to happen. People might not like Belal, but he has earned his opportunity, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And like, the more people hate on him, the more I like him, eh? It's just bringing me to his side. I love it. I love it. It's a fight I want to see. I want to see Belal do with the belt wrapped around him. That would upset a lot of people. Like the uproar would be fantastic. Not to say I want Leon to lose, because I like Leon Edwards very much.
I really like Leon. Yeah,
I'm just saying it'd be a funny dynamic.
It would. I could not wait to see the internet after that happens. If that happens, let's see. But that is potentially UFC 304. Of course, when the fights are actually announced, we'll talk about it on the podcast. But next up, bro, we already have Jamahal Hill back in action. He's going to be facing Khalil Rountree at UFC 303. This is the card where McGregor is also fighting Chandler. Mm-hmm. And so soon after being knocked out, and he also is trying to call for the rematch with Alex, talking about he wasn't really out and his equilibrium was just gone, da-da-da-da-da. But what do you think about Hill fighting pretty soon after being knocked out like that at 300?
Oh, mate, you don't know. You don't know. It's like, I think it's tricky. Concussions, getting knocked out, it's tricky to deal with, because it's one of those things you can't see. And there isn't a hard statistic or a number you can just gauge off, like how much HP you have left, sort of thing. It's tricky. It's tricky. It might be rushing, but it might not be. You know, I'm happy he's taking the fight against Khalil. I don't know. Rountree's had such a roundabout way of getting to those upper tiers of like contentions and fighting for a title, that it's good to see him in Hill. That would have to make him a contender's fight for him, really. That
he looks so good, man. Rountree,
I know.
Especially against Anthony Smith, almost sent him to the Shadow Realm after putting him on his ass. That was crazy, dude.
He's unreal, dude. And I'm happy to see him with that fight with Hill, because he wins, he beats Hill. I think that puts him in the conversation to fight Pereira. For sure. And I like that fight. I think Rountree Pereira would be, I think it's a very hard fight for him, because of as a guy that fights so stand-up Muay Thai, to fight a guy that lives and breathes Muay Thai. It's a tricky fight, but I don't know. I'm happy for that fight to happen. I think calling for the rematch because you got caught out. It is what it is. Like, mate, it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I think you know how to get the rematch, and I think he does too. That's why he's called out Rountree. That's why he's moving so quickly into 303. He wants to keep that ball rolling, if you would. But it's good to see him at least bouncing back. You know, a lot of guys, when they lose the title or lose big fights like this, they get shattered, you know, and they it's hard to come back from. So to see him already getting back on that horse can only be a good thing.
I'm really interested to see what happens in that division, because I don't even know. I don't think it's been called a title contention fight, but, you know, obviously we're having Jiri doing his thing. Let's say, you know, we got a winner out of Hill or Rountree, whoever it is. Ankalaev is there in the mix. I'm genuinely curious as to who Pereira is going to be fighting next. Surely it's Ankalaev. But let's say, you know, Jiri won, obviously at 300. Let's say, you know, whoever wins out of Hill or Rountree, who fights out of them? Do they fight each other? You know? Could be pretty interesting. Next up, though, we've got, I think this is going to be an inevitable fight. I think the UFC would be silly not to do it, but Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway. Ilia Topuria, as he does, was talking a little bit of smack, and he was pretty much saying, Rob, he doesn't want to fight Max unless the BMF title is on the line. What do you think of that? I get why he's saying it. He's about legacy and records.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny.
I get it. I don't know. I can only speak from like the way Holloway fought on the weekend.
Yeah.
Every door in MMA is open to Max Holloway right now.
100%.
The performance he put on, the delivery of the finish he finished up with, his mentality going into the fight, the training and post-fight, he can do whatever he wants. I think Holloway's stock is at an all-time high, and he fights for a belt in either weight division right now. I think that's the only thing that makes sense. But in saying that, though, then if Holloway's going to step in and fight Topuria, Volk's going to be put on the bench for a little bit, because I'm sure Volk is still deserving of that rematch. But Volk obviously needs time to rest and whatnot.
So, with that being said, so does Holloway. Like, I mean, he won, but it was a 5-round war. So it's very tricky how they're actually going to manage that. I think a lot of people were just expecting that Gaethje would win, and they wouldn't really be having this issue,
Tricky.
Yeah, I'm thinking Volk probably needs to rest a little bit, and I would like to see Holloway against Topuria. But also, then let's say Holloway wins, that you got Volk against Holloway again, which is not bad. Like, it's not bad to see that fight again, but yeah.
I'll say that fight a full time.
100%. Yeah, if it was anyone else, a fourth fight, who knows? And then last on the news section, so Jiri Prochazka was talking about his weight cut for his previous fight that he won. He was flirting with the idea of a middleweight move, Rob. And I just, as a throwaway, I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you think about Jiri Prochazka potentially fighting at middleweight at some stage?
I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. I like the guy a lot, but if he enters the middleweight division, then we're enemies. That's just the nature of the game.
You've talked about this. Like, it's hard to see others in middleweight as friends, because you might fight them at one stage.
They're all enemies except for my teammates, because we wouldn't fight each other, right? I can't see him at 84. I've seen him in real life. I've been up with him, and I've been up close with him, and he's big, dude. And it's not just like he's physical. Like, he's got a big frame. He's got wide shoulders. He's quite tall. I think he's 6'4". Yeah. Like, he's a big guy. I think he has the mentality to get to 84 kilos. Don't get me wrong. Dude's borderline.
He could probably do it.
Psychiatric, man. Like, if he wants to get to 84, he'll do it. Whether or not it'll be a good move, it's hard to say. But he's still smashing it in light heavy, I think. And he also said he's still got goals there, right? But I don't know.
I think he should stay as well,
so we can stay friends.
Yeah. By the way,
friendship.
You mentioned your teammate. I'm assuming you're referring to Jacob. He's got a fight against Bo Nickel, right?
No. I think.
Wait, what?
I think Bo Nickel pulled out or something like that.
Are you serious?
No. It was just a bit of clout. The clout to try and hype up, to make a fight happen.
Right. I saw it on my timeline. I didn't give it a second thought.
It got everyone, man. It got me. I was telling my wife, telling my dad. So people messaging me. It's like, it went everywhere. He wants that fight, and I think he deserves that fight. I think that's a fight that makes sense, because I don't know. I think it's a fight that makes sense. Both guys are heading in the same direction. I think. Yeah, I think it's a fight that makes perfect sense stylistically.
Yeah. You know what? Under one of those posts, the first comment, most liked comment, someone said, "Finally, a real fight for Bo Nickel," and I thought that was very fitting. So maybe it can happen, bro. It'll be a good fight.
Maybe. Never say never. We're still working towards it.
So that is all the UFC news. That is the UFC section. Of course, next up, we're going to talk about a bit of game news. And it was a weird week in gaming news. Nothing too crazy. Let's talk about the Fallout 4 Next Gen update, Rob, because I know how excited you are about it. Next Gen update is out for Fallout 4. Out to mixed reviews, some issues with it. Have you heard about what's been going on with it?
I have not. Please.
It's had some issues, mainly on PC. So on consoles, they've got their 60 FPS, they got their performance mode, they got quality mode, and I think for the most part it's running pretty well. But on PC, it didn't really do all that much with PC, and the widescreen support that they added is a bit stretched. It doesn't look that great. And because of that and the update in the process, it's obviously broken people's mods and the script extender. So you're still going to be checking it out though, right?
Yeah, I've already jumped in, had a go at it. Yeah. Haven't even left the beginning vault yet, but I don't know. You know what? I'm mixed. I have mixed feelings about it because like I was so hyped to have a playthrough, and then I started it up, and I just wasn't vibing it. I don't know if it's one of those things where, you know, because I played it so many years ago, the memory of it is kind of pulling me in more than anything else. But then in saying that, the very same vein, I'm not really playing anything at the moment. I'm kind of
that's fair.
I think the camp's been like so hard to a degree.
Yeah,
I've just been trying to binge out on anime, and I come to my desk here and I sit here and I jump into my Steam library and I stare at it for probably about 45 minutes, talk some crap on Discord, and then end up going to bed.
Well, you know, you've got the issue as well. So obviously you're training like a madman, but by the time your fight comes around, Elden Ring DLC is out, and I'm assuming that becomes your priority, right?
Yeah, I've been, but much like I said with the Fallout 4 thing, it's like I'm waiting for that to pop out, and then I can start a new playthrough. I'm actually playing with the idea of jumping back into Baldur's Gate 3, but
really, I thought you were off that.
Well, the story, I don't have the energy for it. I just want to go in and kill stuff, level up, and kill more stuff. You know, I want 2 lines of dialogue, not 7 pages.
Then go play Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is more your vibe right now.
Well, we're kind of meshing what we've been playing, reading the same.
I mean,
vein,
we have
right?
it. It doesn't matter. We can talk about all of it. Go on.
I'm thinking about buying Sekiro.
Oh, yeah?
Right now. Yeah, I think it's on sale.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like, I don't have to think too much. I just get in there, try to work on my parry god skills, and then just be a samurai, live and die by the sword sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. I've seen a couple games that have been just released, like Manor Lords, which looks like a city builder, like Banished, but with semi-total war kind of elements on it, where you can like get your villagers to go out and smash things. That seems cool. Then I've been looking at another one called The Bell Tolls or something like that. Don't know if I butchered that name, but same sort of thing. You like build a town, you're a guy, you can go out smashing people, and I don't know, it looks pretty good. Both games have positive reviews. Very positive reviews. I just don't know if they're fleshed out enough for me to jump into it and then like really sink my teeth into it. Because I found, remember what I was talking about Enshrouded? Yeah. I jumped into that and it was super cool. I got really into it. But I burnt through everything that the game had for me to do within probably about, I don't know, within 40 to 60 hours, which may seem like a lot for some people, but
that's not long enough for you.
It's not long enough for me. Like I like just chewing away at things until I get sick of them.
Well, it's interesting. So like you were talking about the games that you wanted to play. I think I said this, that Stellar Blade, in terms of, that just came out, for those of you that don't know, come out to pretty positive reviews. I think it's up your alley in terms of the gameplay. It's a Souls-like, very similar to Nier Automata. Again, I get Final Fantasy vibes from it as well. And you talk about you want to become a parry god. That's heavily involved, especially in the fights against the bosses. But it's not that long. Like, I don't think you're going to get that satisfaction from it if you're looking at something that needs to be over 60 hours. You know what I mean?
Is Stellar Blade, really good, though. It's a PS5 exclusive. I was just trying to type it up on Steam.
Yeah, it is really fun, man. I enjoy it, and I don't often play these kinds of games. But I'm challenging myself.
It comes on Steam.
Well, that's what they've been doing. I mean, PlayStation, to their credit, most of their exclusives are coming to PC.
Actually, Thank you. I just remembered because of this conversation. I'm going to go see if I can buy. Have you ever played the game Incredible Crisis?
No.
It was like I think it's a Japanese game from like the 90s, and I had a ripped copy of it when I was a young kid, and it is hilarious. It is hilarious. I didn't understand a thing that was going on, but it's got a lot of like Mario Party type play modes sort of things. So it's like repeatedly press square, or you got to do Dance Revolution, but it's just about a guy going through his life, and it was hilarious. I'm going to see if it's on, because the PlayStation has some of the retro games. I'm going to see if it's on it and see if I can play it with the boys. I find it hilarious. It doesn't even make sense to me anymore, but
well, once you figure out like what you're actually going to be playing next, maybe you can tell us in the next podcast. But you said you're watching a bunch of anime, though. We might as well talk about what we're watching, playing, and reading.
Okay.
What have you been watching?
So, because when I get into moods. I get in the moods, okay? And I wasn't into an anime mood for a long time, but now I am, because I'm just tired, can't bother playing games, and I want to watch something. And I don't have a book to read. If I had a book to read, I'd probably read my book, but finding a book to read is sometimes more tiring than anything else, because it's just like, I don't know, you gotta try and find the book. It takes forever, and then you got to read the first couple paragraphs of the book to see if it's any good, and it's annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying. I just want to not think. So I've been watching the latest season for anime. What have I been watching? I've been watching. I've picked up Konosuba, the new season of Konosuba, which I have mentioned time and time again on this podcast as one of my probably my number one anime of all time.
Wow.
Like I just think it is hilarious. And it's good to see they haven't lost much in the third season, you know? Third season of Mushoku Tensei has come out, Jobless Reincarnation.
Yep.
It's a little slow for me. I don't know if it's always been that slow, and just the break and the mood that I'm in has made me like see it slower than it is, but that's where I'm at. Yep. And really, they're the only two that I've watched in the last few days.
Fair.
I've been watching Dragon Raja as well, which is like a Korean one, but it's a little weird, if I'm going to be honest, and the pacing's weird. But yourself? Anything?
It's interesting that you say that, because I've also just started watching anime again after not for a while, and it's weird that we've done it at the same time. But I've just started watching Solo Leveling.
It's cute.
It's been on my list for a while, and I love. What's the one that you told me to watch? And I really love the first season. Bloody hell. All the anime that presents themselves as video games. I just love them.
Oh, yeah. Like Sword Art Online?
Sword Art Online, but the other one that you told me to watch.
Shield Hero?
Shield Hero. Shield Hero Season 1 was awesome, because it felt very much like a video game. And Solo Leveling is the same thing, right? That's the whole premise of... I don't want to spoil it, even though it's in the first or second episode. But the way that it develops in the rest of the season, he effectively is doing quests and playing a video game. It's really bloody cool. So that's what I've been watching, Solo Leveling, and I've been loving it.
Yeah, I'm up to episode 8 of it, and I got sick of it and stopped watching it.
Why? Why'd you get sick of it?
I don't know. The dude kind of annoys the shit out of me now. Like, granted, he gets stronger and stuff, but then he starts to get chiseled. And like
no, that happens in like one episode.
It's almost like they fired the previous artist.
No, that was the joke, bro. That was the joke.
It's not a joke. It's just his stats going up and making him a Chad. But then I don't know. I thought it was a bit.
I thought it was hilarious. So there is the one episode, right, where his appearance changes drastically. Like, doesn't even look anywhere close to how he did. I had to like go back to the previous episode to remind me of like, what did he used to look like? Because this is not the same dude.
Yeah. Did I miss something? Like,
what?
I need to rewatch Shield Hero. That's what I mean. Like that's what I was like. I was like, did I miss something?
I thought I did too. I had no idea what was going on, but then I kind of caught on. Oh, yeah, but Shield Hero Season 2 was not good at all. I didn't like it.
It's blurred. The lines are blurred for me. I don't know which where it
was
stopped.
the turtle one.
I don't remember the turtle one. Is that the one where it kind of finished where he was in the courtyard and the princess is there and the king's there and they kind of
I
put
don't
shit on
remember
him
because I didn't finish it. I was so disappointed by season 2 because of how good season 1 was that I stopped watching it midway through.
What annoyed me is when the bad guys, the guys that were putting shit on him, and ostracized him and made him an outcast, which got him his strength and everything, how they start entering the picture and he starts getting along with them to a degree. Like, I'm kind of waiting for him to have an evil arc where he just goes, like, I've had enough of you guys. Like, I don't know.
Well, you know what I hated is that the rest of the heroes eventually, like once he powered up, right? They were crap compared to him. They were so bad. They were so useless in every battle. I'm like, no. Like, I know that he's the hero and he needs to have this arc, but he feels too overpowered. And like the rest of the heroes feel useless in comparison. That actually got to me a little bit. I didn't like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I want him killing those guys. Like, I want to see something.
I mean, like, sure, be better than them, but like they weren't even useful in any battles. They got just their ass handed to them constantly. It was weird.
Yep. Well, but I guess that comes from the journey because he was ostracized and sent out by himself. He went on like a very rough journey and rough way about getting stronger. Yeah. Which the guys that had it given to them didn't have to go through. With it, hardship,
That's true.
Mate. You need hardship to be strong.
Do you know, like, have you watched the rest of it? Do you know if the others start to have that own little journey? Because if they remain weak forever, then what the hell is the point of having all these other
I don't
heroes?
know. That's what I was saying. Like, I know they have to fight someone at some point, and then they all kind of work together in a fight, and I hated that. I hated that so much. Like, I hated that. I want the guy to go out and make his own empire and just start burning down the rest of the world.
That's fair. That's fair.
Full Demon King style.
That is what we've been watching, playing, and reading. Rob, it might actually be a shorter podcast. We're only 38 minutes in.
Like, we've been talking. I've been talking. Like, I've been talking.
No, we have.
It's just,
this has probably been one of our more conversational podcasts, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, we've just been bringing up random shit.
And I like it. I like it a lot.
So now we've got viewer questions. Of course, if you want to ask your questions for this segment, leave them in the comments below. But first up, we've got @Hyper. Question for Rob. If they disbanded the 170-pound division and replaced it with 165 and 175, would you cut down to 175 pounds and fight the champion? I think you'd smoke Leon. Would love to see that fight.
175. Mate, it'd be tough. Like, if they guaranteed me a title shot straight away in the 175 division, I'd consider it at the very least.
Okay.
But that extra 10 pounds would be hard for me. Even now, like 84 is kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
For me, 185. Like, I just don't. Yeah, 185 for me is. I get pretty like very, very lean. I'm right on 185 when I fight.
Yeah. And I just don't see that ever happening. I don't see every time Dana has asked this question about new weight classes and changing stuff up, he's just like, no, it's not happening.
No. Well, because they're popular divisions. People make them already. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Next up, we've got @CharlieHunter6387. I love the podcast. Question, Jonny, have you played the old Fallout games? Would you like to see a remake or remaster? Also, can you tell Rob, for the love of God, don't touch gloves with Hamzat at the start of the round, as he uses that as a way to take people down. See Usman versus and Holland fight. Dude, do you know how many people said that when your fight with Hamzat was announced? Everyone was like in the comments, don't touch gloves with him. Do not do it. Yeah, so you got another warning.
I've seen that a lot, dude. And my traders and coaches say we're not touching gloves. I don't think I touched gloves last fight though. I don't know. Yeah. Lately, I've been getting into a headspace where I'm kind of just want to fight. Like, I'm not. Yeah. The niceties are kind of pushed out.
But in the terms of the question for me, I have played the old Fallout games. It's been a while. I don't think I want to see a remake or remaster of Fallouts 1 or 2 or Tactics or whatever. I liked them for what they were, but I think they should just move into a new direction. Because we're not going to be getting Fallout 5 for a very long time. I would like to see an Obsidian or someone else at Microsoft. They have so many developers create a spin-off for Fallout and have it be its own thing. So they're not kind of like creatively controlled by an old game that they have to remake. That's my honest
opinion. Can I say something which will blow you away, dude?
Yeah.
We may not see Fallout 5 in our lifetime.
Dude, it genuinely, it might be 10 years away. Yeah.
Like,
isn't that crazy?
Dude. That's more than crazy, man.
It's even wilder when you consider like how long it's been since Fallout 4, right? So Fallout 4, what's the specific reason?
Didn't they
it was
say,
2015.
I think we saw, there was an announcement of like the Elder Scrolls 6 coming out in like 28, wasn't it? 2028?
No. So their plan is, right, they obviously did Fallout 4, 2015, and then they were doing 76. It was being handled by a different team, and then all the BGS really helped out on that. That came out in 2018. From my understanding, that brought a huge delay to Starfield, and they were working on upgrading the engine and all that. So we saw Starfield ages after that in 2023. That's why this has all been delayed. And now they're working on Elder Scrolls 6. If I was to guess, that's out in 4 to 5 years. So if Fallout 5 is after that, that's probably from now 10 years away. That's why it's taken so long, because they had so many bloody things in between. Which is so sad.
It's crazy, dude. It is.
Yeah. But hopefully, look, with how popular Fallout is right now with the TV show and everything, Microsoft is just like, hey, Todd, we're going to have to make a spin-off game. We need some we need some of that Fallout money. Yeah.
Some DLC.
Awesome DLC. That could work too. Next up, we've got Atlanta98. Sup, boys? Question for Rob. How do you think you would have fared against GSP at welterweight when you were fighting there? And how do you think you would have done at 185 when he moved up? Also, Jonny, any plans to check out the Fallout London mod for Fallout 4? Rob?
At welterweight, it would have been very hard. Like the last time I fought at welterweight, almost died making the weight division, just cutting down to that weight. So not very well.
Dude, it's crazy thinking about they used to fight at that weight. Sometimes I forget.
But at 185, I'll beat him. I know this.
Yeah, that's cool. For me, I do want to check out the Fallout London mod, but who knows when it's going to come out at this stage. Like, obviously, the script extender doesn't work. They have to wait for that to be updated before they release it. And if Bethesda updates the game again, then the script extender needs to be updated again, and it keeps getting pushed back. So I do want to check it out when it's actually released eventually. At Smithley FGC asks, after the success of show adaptations like The Last of Us and Fallout, what's a video game franchise that you would all want to see a TV show based on? Let's assume that the show would be good and adapted well. What do you reckon, man? I have my answer.
I think I know what your answer is.
Go on, say it.
It's that submarine one. The underwater one. What is that? The underwater
Bioshock.
one.
It is. Absolutely. It's Bioshock. Oh, wait. Here's the thing.
Is that your answer? Legit?
Yeah. Legit.
Yeah, dude. I nailed that.
You knew it. You absolutely nailed it. I mean, like, you know me. You know how much I love Bioshock. But because they've been talking about the freaking movie for so long, and apparently the movie is still being made. But now that we've seen, like, how good Fallout was, and if it's going to be a good adaptation, like the hypothetical says, of course I would want a TV show, because that's just more hours of Bioshock in TV form. For sure.
No,
for sure.
I do like books and light novels and TV shows when they can expand on the lore and the backstory of the games we love. You know, we just get 100%. More of the games we love. I would, you know, and it'll probably come out just because of how popular the game's been, but I would love a Baldur's Gate series.
Yeah.
But then that's just D&D. And
it's just live action D&D.
It would be phenomenal. But you can see how that would be so hard to do properly.
Yeah. I think because after the Fallout TV show, Todd was asked the question even about the Elder Scrolls, right? And he pretty much said, no, we're not going to do the Elder Scrolls. I think those kinds of fantasy style live action games would be very hard to adapt and make it good. in a TV show.
You know what would be a sick TV show? Resident Evil Outbreak. Did you ever play that series?
I didn't play Outbreak, no.
Outbreak is my favorite of the Resident Evil series.
Okay.
And it was like you picked a character and you were thrown into a scenario.
Yeah.
Like you're a cop in the police station, and then it's like you kind of had to make it to a certain point in the scenario to escape or win, if you would. And there's just so many different ways the scenario and the story could change based on the decisions you made or the actions you made. Like if you didn't do this activity before this amount of time passed, then the door wouldn't be open to go this route in the playthrough or something like that. Or if and it was one of the few Resident Evils where you had companions. So you had two companions with you, and they affected how you got through the level as well. Yeah. And I think that would just be such a cool foundation for a TV show.
It would, but like, how many Resident Evil movies have we had? Like, I don't know whether they would go down that route. You know? Yeah,
the movies are kind of how you going, but
they are how you go. I think
TV show, like
maybe I like one of them
with the money behind it, like Fallout and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like
there's got to be some other good. Let us know in the comments below. Actually, genuinely curious what you all have to say. But last, Rob, at Master Mirage, question for Rob. When I watch UFC Embedded, I notice that fighters either go to the hotel or, in your case, you went to some house/Airbnb. Do you guys have to book that separately?
Yes, we do.
So you just went to an Airbnb?
The UFC put you up at the fight hotel for check-in, which is Tuesday through till Sunday. Right. And that's what they pay for. So if you want to go early to climatize or whatever, you got to come out of your own hard dime. And if you want to go off premises, again, you're paying for that. So I tried getting a house last time, getting a house and having all the coaches and everyone stay in the house, and it was much better. I don't think I'll go the house route this time because it's in Saudi Arabia. The climate's a little different.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
How many do you usually have come across within your team, by the way?
Well, I have my father and my two coaches, Alex and Brian. But this time I'm also going to take Jacob with me as well, just so that I have a partner on the ground I can work with.
Oh yeah.
And train with the week before fight week.
Yeah. No, fair. Well, Rob, that was episode 40. That was talking about UFC Fight Night and 304. We talked about so many topics in this episode. We just kept bouncing around.
We did. We kind of ranted and went all over the place. I'm curious to see if you guys like this sort of conversational type, just ranting off the cuff sort of podcast.
We were talking about this before as well. Like, obviously 300 was big for all MMA channels, right? But for us, we got a lot of views on that previous episode. We're very curious to see how this one goes. You know, with the hype of the UFC kind of slightly down after 300 and it's building back up, you know, to all the cards in June and whatnot. Interested to see how this video goes in terms of views.
I want to branch into just conversations where we can just talk off the cuff about random ass games.
All right. Well, genuinely, let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Rob, do you have any closing thoughts before we end our episode 40?
Mate, thank you very much for all the supporters. I see the numbers climbing on our subscribers.
Yeah, man.
Not too far away, I can see me having one of those silver plaques you throw in my face every single episode, Jonny.
It's just there. You know what's funny? On the video, they can't see it because it's cropped to a square.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
I can get it if you want. Yeah. Well, we'll one day we'll get to 100K. It's going to happen for sure. I feel it in my bones.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next week's podcast. Take care.